Yes. Come on, man. Oh, Dave.
What great energy we have in this room. So I have the pleasure of introducing two of our guests here today. First, let me introduce Senator Lindsey Graham. Voice in Washington. Thank you for defending our military and our national defense. We have the largest single-site employer in the state of Ohio. 30,000 plus civilians and military. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Let's give our veterans, our military, our law enforcement. A great colleague in the Senate. Another voice for conservatives.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, before I introduce J.D. Vance, I'm going to take just a minute to put a plug in for our great state of Ohio. How many of you are proud to live in this great state? Right now by the Democrats. Okay? We have to make sure that we elect our three candidates to the Ohio Supreme Court. Yes. Justice Sharon Kennedy, Justice Pat Fisher, and Justice Pat DeWine. We have to get all of them. One of those seats, we will see a liberal activist court that will undo our laws and change our laws and our legislation and all the good work that our legislators, I see Bob Hackett here, our state reps, state senators have done, it's all going to go out the window. So we have to make sure that nightmare does not happen. We have to make sure we get all of our statewide elected officials elected as well. Our Governor DeWine, Secretary LaRose, our great Attorney General Dave Yost, Auditor Keith Taylor, Treasurer Robert Craig. So we can be the strong red state we are here in Ohio, leading into 2024 to take back the White House and get our country back. Our country is at stake. You know, I have children and I have grandchildren, like many of you in this room, and yes, I have two grandsons. And by the way, JD, my wife Eileen, who's probably around here somewhere, not finding a parking spot right now, she would have JD Vance t-shirts on both of our grandkids. They got a lot of energy. They've been running up and down getting a lot of votes, I guarantee you that. But everything's at stake for our country. These policies that President Biden, Speaker Pelosi, Chuck Schumer have put in place are destroying our country. And in 14 days, we can stop the bleeding in this country. Three things. I need you to reach out to your family. Reach out to your friends. Reach out to your neighborhood and community. Tell them what's at stake in this country. We have to get J.D. Vance elected. Tell them to put a J.D. Vance sign in their yard. And most importantly, tell them to get out to vote.
Yep.
So it's super important. And let me just tell you, when you're talking to your independent friends, your Democrat friends, I served with Tim Ryan in the Ohio Senate and Congress. Okay, I know Tim Ryan, and he puts up these slick 30-second ads, and then goes to Washington and does the opposite.
Yep.
Let me tell you one thing Tim Ryan won't argue about. He's going to vote for Chuck Schumer.
Yep.
You know what that means? That means more liberal, progressive federal judge appointments, possibly U.S. Supreme Court. That means more tax and spend policies that are going to hurt hardworking Americans and our small businesses that are in this room. That means more invasion of government into our privacy, whether it be our schools, our parents, you know, our religious freedoms. We cannot allow that nightmare to continue. In 14 days, we have a chance to change that. So you need to get out and we need to make sure this gentleman right here, J.D. Vance, is elected as our next. I got to know J.D. I've met him during the primary president, but we had lunch right after primary, remember all the cars and everything. And, I learned something about J.D. Vance. Not only is he a family man, but he understands that families are hurting in this state and across this country. He understands that small businesses are just trying to survive. He understands that our country needs a border. He understands that we need to have a foreign policy, where we're respected by other countries. We need to have an economy to get our country going again. He understands what Ohioans are going through, and he will be a great U.S. Senator. Let me introduce to you, my friends, our next U.S. Senator from Ohio. And by the way, if elected, our 51st Republican Senator in the Ohio Senate.
Big asshole, but then you can't just standing ovation. You can't take it back. All right, let's talk about what's at stake in this country. But first, for those of you who don't know me, I grew up pretty much straight down 75 in Middletown, Ohio. I was raised by my mamaw and papaw. I know a lot of you have seen the story or read the story, but I can't help but look at the problems that our country is going through without thinking about it through the eyes of my mamaw and papaw, the people who raised me. Middletown, Ohio was a very, very proud town because we manufactured steel in Middletown. We manufactured a lot, and we did it with American hands, and we did it with American workers. And one of the things that we have to do, one of the things we have to fix in this country is we've got to get back to making our own stuff and using our own people to do it. That has got to be. Remember, the whole idea was that we shipped all of our manufacturing goods to China. We let the Chinese and the Mexicans and everybody else make our stuff. It was supposed to get a lot cheaper. Well, now we don't control our own stuff. It's not even cheaper thanks to Joe Biden's inflation, and it destroyed a lot of prosperity in places like Middletown. That is the backdrop that influences my entire way of thinking about politics. I think that we are the party, and we need to be a country where if you work hard and play by the rules, you can live a good life in the country that all of us love. It's really that simple. Now let's talk about what Joe Biden and Tim Ryan, my Democrat opponent, have done to our country. Let's talk about what they've taken from working people in this country. Number one, we have a terrible, terrible inflation crisis. Okay? And why do we have a terrible inflation crisis? We know two things. Number one, Joe Biden and Tim Ryan voted and created trillions of dollars in government spending, borrowing money from the Chinese to pay people not to work instead of investing in their own country. That's reason number one. Reason number two is we completely jacked our Ohio and American energy markets. I happen to believe, and of course I don't like Joe Biden very much. I wish that he wasn't the president.
Neither do we.
And I imagine there are not many Joe Biden fans in this room. But I still think it's pathetic that the President of the United States, the world's most powerful nation, is going around on bended knee and begging for oil and gas from every tin pot dictator when we've got plenty of it right here in our own state. States into a beggar nation of the worst people and the worst regimes in the world. Now here's another thing. Now, Tim Ryan, his whole argument, ladies and gentlemen, is that he is a reasonable moderate. That's what he says. Now I agree with you, man. Now a reasonable moderate, you would think, would vote what with Nancy Pelosi 50% of the time? 70% of the time, maybe 90% of the time. No, not even 99% of the time. Tim Ryan votes with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. That is not a reasonable moderate. That is a person who is a rubber stamp for an agenda that is hurting our people, that is hurting our values, and is taking what makes this country great away from us. And on November the 8th, we're going to stop it. That's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Topic of reasonable moderates. You know what used to be a bipartisan idea in this country? It used to be bipartisan. I'm 38 years old, and from the time I was born to about 2 years ago, the first 36 years of my life, we had violent crime going down, murders going down, carjackings going down. And you know why? because we had this idea, even Democrats agreed, that you shouldn't let violent criminals out of prison and you should support the police who are keeping us safe.
Yeah.
2 years ago, the leadership of this country completely flipped it on its head. Tim Ryan says that he supports our police, yet he voted to strip the police of the legal protections that allow them to do their job and keep us safe. He says he wants to end cash bail, which is why you have violent criminals getting out of prison, committing violent crimes one day, and then committing another crime the very next day, or sometimes the very same day later on.
Yep.
This is crazy. And we're going to talk about reasonable bipartisan policies. Here's a reasonable bipartisan policy. Let's declare war on the violent criminals in this country. Let's put them in prison, and let's support our police.
Yeah.
Here. He's been a great friend and a great ally of mine as we get around the state and we try to win this race. But he said something about the southern border that I think is so important for us to hammer. We care about the southern border, ladies and gentlemen, because unless we get control of it, we are never going to have safe streets and we are never going to prevent this poison from coming into our country. It's killing Ohioans by the bushel, and we have got to stop it.
Yeah.
Now, my family, I was raised by my mama and papa. Not because my mom wasn't with us, but because addiction made it hard for her to take care of me for a big chunk of her life. Now I stand here today very proud of my mom and very proud to say she's been clean and sober for 7 years.
Yeah.
And what an incredible blessing it is, and what a great testament to our country that we're a country, the American dream is not just for everybody who did everything right. It's the American dream for second chances, for people who keep on getting back on the horse. But this poison that the cartels are bringing into this country is the biggest threat to second chances we've had. I believe in the bottom of my heart that if my mom was confronted with the poison that's stalking the streets today, if that was stalking the streets 10 or 15 years ago, we would have never gotten that second chance with my mom. So when we talk about the border, remember why we fight for a strong border. It's because we love our own people, and we don't think Mexican drug cartels ought to be preying on moms and dads, sons and daughters in the state of Ohio. Let's declare war on those cartels,
Yes.
build that border wall, and get back to border.
Yes. South Carolina, but before I do, I want to just give you an update on this race and how I think things are going. In short, I think things are going really well. I think we got the lead and I think we got the momentum. I honestly would take one of those things, but to have both of them is very, very good. The thing is, we got to keep it going over the next couple of weeks. Isn't that crazy? We only got 2 weeks until Election Day. And I think that, and then I think to myself, Joe Biden's only been president for like a year and a half. It feels like 10 years, right? So if it's 2 weeks like Joe Biden's first 18 months, it's going to feel like a lot more than 2 weeks. But we've got to keep our foot on the gas. Tim Ryan had an event earlier today in I believe in Bethel, Ohio. Maybe had 15 people there. Okay? Seriously. But we all, it reminds me of when Joe Biden was campaigning for president. He had these fields with big white circles, and half of the circles wouldn't even have anybody in them. Yep.
So we got the energy. We got the energy and we got the momentum, but we've got to get out there and keep working. So here's the 2 things I'd ask all of you to do in this room. Number 1 is get as many people to the polls as possible. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to people you see at your kids' and grandkids' school. Let them know these things, why you're voting for J.D. Vance and why we can't trust Tim Ryan. Because if you guys do that, we are going to overcome the incredible amount of Democrat money and propaganda that's coming to the state. Now, I used to think that the media was biased, but it was fundamentally interested in the truth. What an idiot I was, right? The Democrats have a massive, massive super PAC, and it's called the American corporate media. What we have is the people, and we have the truth.
Yeah.
So let's use both of those things. Let's get the word out there, and let's make sure that we don't reward Tim Ryan. For 20 years, this guy has tread water in D.C. and been a rubber stamp for Nancy Pelosi. Let's throw Chuck Schumer the hell out of there, and let's get them.
I'm going to introduce Lindsey Graham, who knows a little bit about Washington, D.C. Now, here's the thing I say, I've followed, we've been going around all day with Lindsey, and, this event I was worried about because my stomach was hurt by the time we got here. I was laughing so hard. The guy's got a great sense of humor. But I followed his career. Here's where Lindsey Graham really impressed me. A lot of people don't know that my wife, I love her to death, a very, 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 very smart, very accomplished person. About 8 years ago, she worked for a little-known federal judge by the name of Brett Kavanaugh, who a few years after she worked, and she loved the guy, thought he was the best boss she had ever had, a really, really good guy, a really, really great boss. 4 years later, President Trump nominated him to the Supreme Court, okay? And I think we got a lot of good decisions out of that Supreme Court the last couple of years. I'm sure he can talk about some of them. But what the media and what the Democrats did to Brett Kavanaugh, whether you agree with every ruling or not, was the most disgusting thing I have ever seen done to a good man in the history of American politics, at least since I've been alive. They lied about him, they lied about his family, they sent protesters after his kids. It was unbelievable. Yep. And the guy who did the best job, the most energetic and the most passionate job of defending Brett Kavanaugh was the great senator from South Carolina.
Can you see me? I'm not going to get any taller. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You look taller in person.
I'm from way down 75. I just won. I'm glad to be here. There are a lot of reasons for me to be here. Let me give you one. If we take back the majority, I'm budget chairman, not Bernie Sanders. Like me, that is a good deal for you. So, I've been with the guy all day. He's smart as hell. He's a Marine. Any Marines here? Yeah. I do anything to make you mad, I am sorry. That guy needs to go to the gym. So being an enlisted Marine is a very big accomplishment. You came to, where'd you go to? Parris Island, South Carolina, right? Only the Marines will feed you and take good care of you for 8 weeks like they did him. The bottom line is that's a hard way to go. You came out of there with honor, and once a Marine, always a Marine, right? Yeah. Okay, the guy goes, go Buckeyes. For 2 more weeks, I'm a Buckeye fan. I really want to win. I'm even pulling for Georgia now, but I'm going to Herschel. We're gonna.
Yay, Herschel!
So the bottom line is, what we got to talk about real quickly is what would it matter if he fired Pelosi and Schumer?
Yes!
It would matter a lot, right? So the first thing it would matter is all the crazy crap stops.
Not all of it.
Then you'll have a different conversation. So Rob Corbin's been buddies with him for a long time. This is a seat we got to hold, right?
Yeah.
What you do in Ohio affects everybody in the country. Do you understand? Yeah. If we somehow let this slip away, shame on us all. We'll be letting a lot of people down, right? So all I can tell you is if we hold Ohio, we're well positioned to take over. 4-3-2. Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, New Hampshire are 4 Senate seats for first-term Democrats where Biden's like underwater.
Yep.
And our guys are doing really good.
Yep.
So I hope we win all 4, but the point is we're on the edge of taking back Democratic held seats. You got Pennsylvania and Ohio. These are 2 that we hold. They're dropping everything. They're trying to really ruin this guy's life. It ain't gonna work, is it?
No.
Okay. So you got Dr. Oz, you got JD, they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink. Tim Ryan, let me just say this. If you think he's a moderate, you should not be allowed to drive in Ohio. You're a danger to yourself and others. I don't know how long you got to be a Democrat before you're a Democrat, but apparently it's more than 20 years. So this idea that he's some kind of agent of change, nice guy, but he's not. He voted for Build Back Better, which died in the Senate, right? He voted for the American Rescue Plan, which didn't rescue anybody. You feel rescued? I don't feel rescued. The Inflation Reduction Act, which was the dumbest name you could give any bill. He voted to make DC a state. How many of you think that's a good deal?
No.
So every time Nancy Pelosi needed him, he was there. Same thing when he goes to the Senate. JD is a different kind of Republican in all the good ways.
Yeah.
Speaking of Donald Trump, you may not remember this, but I ran for president too. And if you don't remember, it's really not your fault. It didn't last very long. I don't even think I got a shirt from the campaign. Let's just put it this way. Trump and I didn't get off to a good start.
No.
So I said everything I could say about him. He said, why'd you say all those things? I said, I couldn't think of anything new to say. But he won, right?
Yeah.
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 He invited me over to the White House. He said, sorry about giving out your phone number. I said, that was the highlight of my campaign. If I didn't lose my phone number, I might have showed it a little bit better. But anyway, he said, I want you to help me, Mr. President. I'd love to help you. You won. You beat the Bushes. You beat the Clintons. You beat everybody.
Yeah.
He tapped into something that's real.
Yeah.
And I think JD understands that something. And I have learned to listen. I've been around for a while, but you're never too old to learn, are you?
No.
So what happened with me and Trump? I said, we found common ground. I've come to like him. And he likes him. And that does it, buddy. That gets you through 18 holes of golf. So on his watch, people were afraid of us. The Chinese ambassador came in after he won and said, we're trying to figure out Trump. I said, take a number, get in line. You don't think he's a little crazy? You're a little crazy. So the bottom line is, I don't believe Putin would have invaded Ukraine and Trump.
No. No way.
When we withdrew from Afghanistan, it set in motion a lot of bad things.
No.
Yeah.
We need to stop this before it's too late. We don't talk enough about national security. Here's Biden's America. You have to mortgage your house to fill up your car, right?
Yeah.
When you go to the gas station, you're probably going to get robbed. That's not a good place to be. How did that happen? Policy matters. These cops here, how many of you think it's be hard to recruit people to be police officers?
Oh, yeah.
It's hard. When you declare war on the cops, it does have an effect. They defund the policemen, all this crazy stuff, it's had an effect.
We love our police.
Yeah.
The likelihood of a terrorist group coming from Afghanistan somewhere over there to go through a broken southern border is really high. They're doing nothing about it. When we get in charge, we should have hearings and we should talk about impeaching people in charge of our
Start with Mayorkas.
What should be the first bill out of the House if we have control this republic? Border security, yes. We should secure our border and deal with fentanyl as #1 issue.
Yep.
Because if you can't control your border and control your sovereignty, you're exposed. It's like leaving your door open.
Yeah.
So we got to close that door, do it in a rational way, and get control of the fentanyl problem. It's killing thousands of South Carolinians in Ohio and people in Ohio. #2, energy independence.
Yeah.
You know about the dumbest thing in the world is to shut down oil and gas production here, so you'll have to depend on people who hate your guts.
Yeah.
That's dumb, that's stupid. So what we would do is we'd start a discussion that doesn't exist today about our border, about drugs, about helping the cops. We'd be talking about energy independence, but we'd be voting on the subject matter, right? We'd have a discussion and we'd vote. In 2024, Democrats will have to pick between the most radical people in the country and the American people. And it shaped the 2024 election. I don't know what Biden would do about signing a bill to secure the border, but I want to put one on his desk if I can. The very first day, we need to have an agenda
Yes.
that will lower inflation, fight crime, and regain our sovereignty. And if we get 51, all these crazy judges, you need not apply.
Yes.
51.
Maybe they'll know what a
Changes-
woman is.
51. So you gotta hold Ohio. I think it's gonna be a blowout in 2 weeks, I really do. Most people do not come to listen to two politicians talk, right?
Right.
Most people don't knock on doors for a candidate. Most people don't get any money. Most people don't make a phone call. It doesn't mean they're bad, they don't care. They're busy. This is not their thing like it is your thing. But what happens in Washington really affects them and their family.
Yeah.
Hope they understand that after almost 2 years of just chaos.
Yeah.
Most people get their news from social media now, not the television. And if you're a Republican, good luck getting your side of the story out.
Oh, yeah.
This Hunter Biden story was spiked right before
Yes.
the election.
Yes.
So why is it close? Because the people who tell our story are in this room.
Yeah.
And if you don't have money to get on TV, you can't break through this corporate media cabal he talked about. And social media is not our friend. So there's a lot of families in Ohio that are raising kids, going to work, probably believe what you believe, but they don't know much about this race other than what they're told on television, what they read about in the papers. That's our problem, and that's our job, is to tell the other side of the story. So you do it by getting on the phone, you do it by talking to your neighbor, talk to your friends. If you don't have a friend, go make one. Put a yard sign up, put a bumper sticker on, because people, it's branding, right?
Mhm.
So jdvance.com. Did anybody see Jesse Waters last night? I was shameless. I was plugging away. Getting outspent. Where does Tim Ryan's money come from? It comes from every liberal
Everywhere.
in the country who wants to keep this agenda going. And he's raised $7 million. JD has. Tim Ryan's raised $17 million. Let's close the gap. A lot of people giving a little ads up. He's got an ad. I just saw it. That is a killer ad. We need about $1.5 million to $2 million more to give it the weight we need to close the campaign. So the reason I'm here, I want to be chairman. Because you wake up every day and you can't believe you're going to do what? And this is a tough business. JD and his family have been beat on pretty hard, and he's still standing. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Amen.
People in the world are liberals. They're the most, the things they say about me, and I could care less. But they're really intolerant. Look what they were going to do to Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
One of the most decent guys to ever be nominated, whether you agree with him or not. They were going to destroy this man's life, one lie after another, compounded. It was high drama, and Brett stood in there, and President Trump had his back, and I'll be forever grateful.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
3 Supreme Court justices. So just close this out with the 2022 candidates. We got people new to politics. We got 38. Can you believe it? I mean, look what he's done in 30. He wrote a book. I wrote a book. Nobody read it. They made a movie about it. So when he gets into the Senate, he's going to write a book for me. But very talented, young, smart, savvy, got an edge that's good. America is not going to change until you make her change.
Sure.
Right.
Right? None of the bad stuff stops until you fire the people in charge of the bad stuff.
Yep.
We'll have a really good night. I think we're going to shape the debate for the next 2 years when we're at the House and the Senate. I think we're going to stop some crazy judges from getting on the court.
Yes.
If we get one more senator, and Ohio's key to that. But I just want to end with this. It's not the numbers. There's 51, 53, but there's people behind the name. Herschel Walker. You know why I'm behind Herschel Walker? I don't want to be in front of Herschel. He does 1,500 push-ups a day. Between me and Herschel, we do 1,500 push-ups. So he brings, he's an African, my colleague Tim Scott's a national treasure.
Oh, yeah.
We're excited about the future of the Republican Party. We're doing better with Hispanics and African Americans
Yes.
at any time because their policies are not working for families, no matter what your color or your background. So we got Tim Scott, we got Herschel Walker, we've got women, just all kind of people. We got young conservatives who have been successful in every area of their life. So here's what's so important. It's just not the numbers, it's the people themselves. And I really think J.D. Vance, of all the candidates I've interacted with, has a chance to change the trajectory of the Republican Party for the better.
Yes.
He has a chance of changing Washington for the better. And let it be said that when America needed Ohio the most, you were there. J.D. Vance, stop.
Thank you all, seriously. You've been so gracious and so welcoming. We're going to get out there and vote. We're going to kick this guy's rear end. But before that, we're going to try to take as many photos as we possibly can. And we have a lot of people here, maybe more than we thought we'd have. But what we're going to do is have people line up on this side to my right and then exit on my left. And we're going to try to take as many photos as we possibly can before we hit the road. So if you want to come up, say hello, take a photograph, please do so. Thank you guys. God bless you.